Hey guys, just recently, just this morning actually, embarrassed myself on ETA Nick's channel. You guys all probably know Nick. People who watch my videos tend to watch Nick's videos too. I embarrassed myself doing his trivia game, and I barely got the minimum number of questions right using all his hints, like all of his lifelines basically is what it is. And damn, I'm looking at myself in the camera here. Side note, need a haircut, Mr. Nate. But anyways, go check that out. He's got a cool, fun thing going on where he's doing, for having 1,000 subscribers, he's doing a quiz show about comics, and it's got a fun setup to it. The structure of it's good, and he's already had me and Brooke on there as 2 contestants, and he's got some more coming up soon, and he just needs a few more people to complete, I think to complete the number of people he wanted to get originally to do the game show the way he wanted to do it. So head on over there and watch the video. If it's something you think you might like doing, do it. Do it! All right, now to the video you all wanted to see, hopefully, Beyond the Covers. Beyond the Covers with Journey into Mystery. Pretty fun story. I think I'm just going to share you story 1 and then go quickly through the rest of the stories with you, because story 1 is so cool for so many reasons. Journey into Mystery number 81. Tales to Astonish 56. I couldn't believe how much of a letdown this was on the inside for so many reasons. I had such high expectations, and wow, was I let down, which is very unusual for me with this run around this time period for Marvel, but that's okay. And then Spider-Man and Wolverine and Marvel Team Up number 117. Can't have a good comic video without at least a little bit of Wolverine, right? On the inside, we've got Herb Trimpe doing the art, and J.M. DeMatteis, whose name I still freaking don't know how to pronounce. I really gotta look that up. Whoever that is has written a lot of the comics that I've read, and this story was just so good. I couldn't believe it. I was so surprised, pleasantly surprised, by what happens in this story. So let's just get into it here. Some unusual stuff starts to happen, and here's where I start to love comics. Here's where I start to love the medium of comics, for just being able to completely switch gears and do something that otherwise would be not really acceptable story-wise. But hey, Wolverine says what I was thinking too. What in the hell? A Roman centurion with the Flash Gordon pop gun. Wolverine does exactly what you're hoping he's going to do here. This is in the late 80s when this came out, this Marvel Team Up. And he does exactly what people are wanting Wolverine to do at this point in time, which is take on bad guys, which aren't really bad guys, but he takes on a whole army of 100 guys and just slaughters the shit out of all of them. How do they beat Wolverine even after he slashes tons and tons of them? With gas, of course. As tons of superheroes are subdued in Marvel comic land, Spidey's just roaming around, and he has an equally interesting scene. He's attacked by a fleet of Centurion flying ships. He says, what the hell? And I was really hoping that at this point in time, what Spidey would do, how cool would it be if right here, Spidey just, put his web onto one of them ships and just started swinging, sort of like a monkey from branch to branch, swinging from one ship to the next, just dodging their shots and stuff. I was hoping for a big scene like that, where he was basically just using his web to swing from one ship to the other, because there's a fleet of 100 ships in the sky, and I thought that would be a really cool scene that I haven't seen in a Spidey comic before. Maybe that's happened in another comic that I have not read yet with Spidey, but I thought that would have been cool. Instead, they have him use his web to gather the ships and throw them at the other ships, which is fine, I suppose. But how do they end up beating Spidey? Of course, with gas. Wolverine wakes up here. This is where I started to really enjoy this comic. Wolverine wakes up here, and he's like, what the hell's going on? And he realizes that he's in the middle of like a Roman setup, but the arena's filled with mannequins. See this old man, you're reading along, and this old man says, I don't want to fight you, please. I don't want to fight you. They made me fight you. Help me. And Wolverine, if you can read right there, says, sure, bub. I'll help you. And then freaking kills him. When I first saw that panel, I was like, holy shit. Did they just have like Wolverine have a lapse in complete lapse in moral judgment? I mean, he's always kind of on the fence, but I was like, did he seriously just slash an old man, an old innocent man? But no. Turns out he's a robot. He says, you stinking robot. And you realize that he knew the whole time because he could smell with his senses. His Wolverine senses could smell that it was a robot. And I thought that was kind of clever. the robot's basically telling them what the Master's plan is, and Spidey wants to listen, but Wolverine's response is quick. As you see here, nonverbal. He just kills the huge robot. And Spidey is not happy about that. He says we could have learned more from Wolverine, you idiot. Just good banter, good back and forth with two fantastic Marvel superheroes. At the very end, they reveal that they've been challenged this whole time by a master who's actually a professor who's been teaching a class and showing on the view screen what he's doing with these superheroes. He's basically testing their mettle. And the whole class has been studying them as if they were some sort of foreign specimen. It's kind of an interesting turn at the end of the story. Anyways, I thought that was a fun story, and we'll leave it there. Just real quick, one of the things I liked the best about this was how they played off of each other, Wolverine and Spider-Man, that is. And this is one of the better examples, short examples I've seen of the difference of the moral fiber, let's say, of Spider-Man versus Wolverine. So Spidey says to Wolverine, what about the prison? There's prisoners who are at risk, who are about to be killed by a madman. And Wolfie says the following. What about it? Criminals are criminals, basically. They deserve to die. Spidey says, are you effing kidding me? Who are we to decide who lives or dies, yeah? He says, I don't know, but I'm in this crappy situation, all right? I'm just doing the best I can. And that is so typical Wolverine if I've ever seen it. Okay, so I'm not going to spend too much time on this TTA56 because some of you may disagree with me, but I think it is, compared to the other parts of the Tales to Astonish run right around this time period, which are so good for the art and for the storytelling, for the most part. It's the reason why I love it. It's great freaking stories. This Giant Man, or Ant-Man, or whatever the hell you want to call him, and Wasp's story was just, whew. Okay, first off, I don't know if it's just me, guys, but look, Dick Ayers is doing the inking and the penciling here, okay? And maybe it's just me, but I do not like this art, man. Maybe that's me being really harsh, but, like somebody else was saying today, I'm a little bit of a spoiled boy with these comics, so I have a very high standard. But it's funny because Giant Man tries to propose to the Wasp in this comic, and it's been a little bit of an ongoing conversation with my girlfriend and I of quite so many years about when I will be doing the proposing bit, and she noticed that even in my comic books that diamond ring is coming up and she would not let me hear the end of it, so that was kind of funny. But I don't even really want to go too far into the story to let you I guess I could just say, you got the fun stuff, like he's playing around with ants, and he's got his, the ants are driving him around in this freaking Ant-mobile set up there, which is cool. But as far as, like, original plot or anything cool happening in this particular comic, I would say no. This is probably the best panel out of the whole book, and I actually like that panel. But even here, you can see there's something kind of off, to me at least, about the way that the inking is matching up with that penciling. I don't know. I mean, Dick Ayers is doing both of them, so you would think that he could do a decent job interpreting his own pencils, right? I don't know. People like Jared and Nick will probably have an answer for me there about why those panels appear to me to look a little bit less satisfactory, let's say, than most. But, yeah, Giant Man's getting big, he's getting small, what are you going to do? He gets big, he's Giant Man, he gets small, he's Ant-Man, okay? I mean, Jesus. The best part about Ant-Man for me is some of those panels you get with him being small compared to like a big boot that's next to him or a big hand or something like that. Those are cool. But look at this, for instance, okay? Look at this. Like, just come on, man. Like, be a little bit more realistic. He's tiny right here, okay? Look at his Ant-Man size right here. Get that in focus. See him right there in that middle panel? And then look at him here compared to the size of the boot. Okay, you're getting the idea for his size. And all of a sudden, he's not changing size here. He's supposed to be staying the same size. In this next panel, look how big he is compared to the dude's hand. It's just not consistent, man. And then look at him right in the next panel. Look how small he is. It's like, come on. And he is not changing size there. As far as the plot goes, he's not supposed to be changing size, getting smaller there. It's just That kind of carelessness, I don't know, maybe I'm picky, but that kind of carelessness really stuck out to me as far as the drawing and the thought about putting a lot of thought into the plot, and it just wasn't there. There was no cleverness to it. Okay, you get all my negativity. I think we're going to go on to the next one here. Coolest part about this book is this ad right here for Daredevil #1. That is pretty cool, I have to admit. And the second story here with, I think this was Stan Lee's, Larry Lieber. Stan Lee's, whoever that is, uncle or brother, I always forget, cousin, I don't know. He's fine. It's fine. Somebody who looks strangely like Hawkeye there, doesn't he? Those colors, I thought that was kind of interesting. But the story itself, again, was not that great. So, that was a negative review, I guess. Jeez, normally I don't do those with these Beyond the Covers videos, but, you know, there was just nothing good there. It's like bad guy's a magician. They go after the magician. He gets small, he gets big. The Wasp and him have their ongoing romance troubles. It's just like, come on. Now, this guy, on the other hand, is something truly interesting to me for a lot of reasons. Entertaining, yes. Good art, good enough. But great story, and I like a lot of these 1950s up to early 1960s, Journey into Mystery, Tales to Astonish, Strange Tales, Tales of Suspense, you know, those runs from Marvel. Because the artists and creators are given a little bit more latitude as far as what they're allowed to do, at least as far as what I've seen. And darn, you know, I just realized I got to get this to a better setup so that I'm not going to damage the spine when I open it up here to look inside. But I'll show you what I'm talking about. You've got communist stuff happening around Cold War era when this came out, which I think is fantastic. You've got a supercomputer, which plays a major role in the plot that almost takes over the world, which is perfect because this is published right around the time when computers are just starting to get going, and the era of the supercomputer is very current and modern and high tech as far as these guys are concerned. You can tell when they're writing this comic, and I think that's just fantastic. So let's get into this here with R.O.E., the ruler of Earth. So you can see right away, you get this great Kirby panel here where he's starting to experiment with machinery and how he likes drawing machinery. And this is R.O.E. here. And you can see these human scientists are worshiping R.O.E. R.O.E., of course, is the acronym that stands for Ruler of Earth. Now let us suppose that the Cold War does not end in this decade. Let us suppose it goes on and on until finally it leads to something like this. The Ruler of Earth. I love it, man. Love it. And again, we've got Ayers working here, but he's inking Kirby's pencils, apparently. You can see there by the credits there in the bottom left. And this has to be Stan Lee doing the writing. I don't have to look it up. I am fairly certain. Anyways, this first story is fantastic. So you got just a couple driving along here, and it's taking place in the future. The year's 1990, guys. 1990. You see that? Way in the future. Look at their futuristic car. And this old couple, they're going on their drive, doing their thing. And you see that all the old missile sites here and all military bases are closed by order of R.O.E. Rowe. Because war is no longer an issue in the future. And look at this right here. I thought this was really interesting. You see this guy down here? He's supposed to just be a pedestrian on the street, but who does that look like to you? This came out in '62. Keep that in mind. Who does that look like to you? Man, I've got some panels to show Mr. Fantastic looking pretty freaking close to that right there. Yeah, I thought I was looking at Mr. Fantastic when I was looking at that. It was crazy. Speaking of cool faces to point out, this one has nothing to do with a reference to another comic book character, but it's not just a fantastic drawing of this guy right here who's supposed to be kind of a dope in the plot. He's saying, what a fantastic idea, after the suggestion is made. Here, I'll show you. See, this is the supercomputer right here on the left. You see that? And of course, back then, you know, they didn't know exactly how far computers would go, and it's cool. See, look what they're saying here. Giant electronic computers, which hold more knowledge and make decisions faster than the greatest human brain. And of course, supercomputers back then, guys, the size of a room, couldn't do what some modern-day laptops can do today. So it's just so interesting to me. I don't know. History in comic book form, you know? It's great. And then look at this guy. Read that little bubble. He's saying let the computer who's so much smarter than us, govern us if it's so great. And that way war will end and everything will be fantastic. And that's what happens in this plot. And once that happens here on page 3, I was like, man, I am hooked. And on the bottom here, look what they've got. They have this on the books that came out during this month, and I think maybe the month before, where it says Watch for the Hulk. This came out right around the same month or two. I've got to look up exactly when it came out, what month, but right around the same time as Incredible Hulk #1. And so that's what they're advertising on the bottom of every other page there. And look, you'll see it again. Let's just go to a random page here. Different advertisements for the Hulk there. Who is the Hulk? Beware of the Hulk. The Hulk is coming. Kind of cool cross promotion happening there for Hulk #1. Anyways, they established this supercomputer site on the top of a mountain that's going to be ruler of Earth, and everything goes well except there are some commies. Look at that sickle. Just great, man. Communists, of course, communists step in and they watch all this happening, and they have a plan to try to intervene with this robot and basically use it to their advantage so that they can take over Earth. And all of a sudden now you're bringing in communists into supercomputer Armageddon plots, and I'm just as hooked as I can be story-wise, you know? This is why I love the Silver Age. The combination of historical references with fantastic interpretations of history in story form, along with the great art, which is just candy for your eyes, you know? And you put those things together and, geez, I don't even know what to call it. A full sensory experience, I guess, huh? Even if you get these old ones with the musty smell. And in the end, of course, the communists fail. But the supercomputer is still ruler of Earth indefinitely. And I think that's just a fantastic way to leave off. Then you got some more, less interesting stuff as far as I'm concerned. Dragons and magician stories. Here we got a big gorilla fighting story, and the big gorilla winds up being an alien. And the hunters learn their lesson in this fable-type story. They shouldn't have attacked the gorilla because it was an alien, and they could have learned about the alien's world if they'd only listened to the gorilla. And here's something very cool. I forgot about this. This last story is by Ditko and Stan Lee, of course. See that credit right there. And it's a kind of satire story about a comic strip writer, or artist rather, who uses his... Got some great Ditko caricatures here. Who uses his artistic clippings in his spot in the Sunday paper with his comic strip to his advantage by putting his enemies in there and making fun of them as caricatures. And if somebody does anything that he doesn't like, he basically blackmails them and tells them that he's going to put them into his comic strip if they don't do what he wants. And he does this to get dates, like he's doing right here. He does it to win over politicians and all sorts of things. And he basically is just a vainglorious comic creator. And it's a kind of funny comment by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko on comic book creators, because what happens at the very end is the comic book creator himself gets erased by Steve Ditko, who comes into the story and starts speaking in the bubble balloon saying, "Watch out, buddy, you're about to get erased with this Jiffy eraser." And that is exactly what happens. He erases him. Thought that was good stuff. That'll be it for this episode of Beyond the Covers. Hope you guys enjoyed, and talk to y'all later.